Good evening and welcome to Going for Two. This is the only YouTube podcast in human recorded history to feature a male and female host drinking our way through the important topics of the day, as long as they touch the football world, and not in that way. I am Zach Law, and this is Sharonosaurus Hex. Tonight is, I think it's November 16th, 2016, just in case people want to know when the hell we did this. Tonight, we bring beer and a guest, so it's doubly fun. Hello, Sharona, and what is your drink of choice this evening?
I am drinking a brewski. I'm drinking a New Belgium fat tire that I once infamously tried to order at a Titans game as a flat tire.
I think they'd figure it out, but now they only sell that Hawaiian beer in 7,000 Bud Lights. And I am having my first of the season, Trader Joe's Vintage Ale. This is from Unibrow in Canada. And I'm very excited that I will be able to do my first beer vertical ever. I have 3 years of this beer saved up, so some weekend I'm going to drink all three, hopefully with friends, because that's a lot. But let's talk to our guests. So tonight we bring on Jamal Black, a.k.a. Jamalisms on Twitter, who is a host of the Two-Tone Crew, note the number 2, and the only person living in Milwaukee who doesn't drink booze, and I'm including kids. I tend to say negative things about the Titans, but Jamal really challenges me in this category. We're all going to eat crow as we come off the best Titans performance of the year, at least in terms of offense. Good evening, Jamal. And what reality are we in now?
Well, we're in the reality of, I really have no idea. I don't drink booze, you're right, but I drink coffee. And I want to have diabetes, so I put a lot of sugar in it. Tastes good.
Is there a special
I really
brew
don't know
for the show, or is it just whatever coffee you have?
The cheapest thing I can find, which in this case I think is a Costco signature Kirkland something or other. I hated it until I drank it enough, and then it's not too bad.
Sounds like a cheap beer for some people. But I like it. See, if you know Jamalisms, go at Jamalisms on Twitter and check out his profile picture. He's got the eye patch, so he's rocking the virtual eye patch tonight. But yeah, it was an unusual game because I waited the entire afternoon for them to somehow blow it, but they didn't, and they just kept scoring, which is nice. They scored touchdowns, and the Packers conveniently didn't cover the Titans receivers half the time, or decided who needs to tackle that DeMarco Murray guy, not me. But just off the bat, I mean, we need some positivity here right now. So first of all, just how fun is this team? I mean, we have glimpses of this during Vince Young's career and that one year when CJ2K was really good, but we really haven't seen a Titans offense like this since they were the Oilers, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, it's actually, I think it's almost a record that we've scored. Didn't they say over 35 in 3 straight games for the first time ever? So we probably haven't ever seen this. It's a prolific offense right now, and hopefully it keeps up. It's frustrating, though, that we can be this prolific and then just have those times where we shot ourselves in the foot and we're still only 500 because we just can't get out of our own way at times. And a lot of times that comes down to the quarterback, and that's the most frustrating thing for me.
Exactly. What say you, Sharona?
I agree with Jamal. It would be a lot more fun and exciting if they were more consistent. I mean, it's hard to erase we can't score more than 10, 12, 13 points, from the first part of the season. And, Marcus Mariota, and he's in his second year, and you're seeing him make the kind of mistakes that young players make. And that there are going to be those growing pains. You're just going to have to learn to live through them. But, for those of us who remember the butt whoopings, especially the one back in 2012, this was a good game.
Yeah, wasn't 2012 the year they lost 55-7 to the Packers and the Bears came to town and just smashed the Titans? Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure Brian Urlacher, returned an interception for a touchdown. He ran slower than my mom, who was early 60s then. So, give her a break. Her 40 times, not terribly great. And the best part was, I think I just angrily said to the Bears fans, enjoy that. That's the best moment you're going to have the rest of the year. And I was accurate because they didn't even make the playoffs. Nice. It is nice to, I guess, hand out the beat downs.
The Bears have this Jay Cutler problem. And I'm so happy to be past, hopefully, fingers crossed, knock on wood, past the point where I have to fend off Titans fans who want to sign Jay Cutler. Because this is probably his last year in Chicago.
It'll be intriguing to see, just because Brock Osweiler, somebody's going to pay Jay Cutler money next year probably, but I think 2 out of 3 days I had to go take my car in to get oil changed and stuff because I have 2 cars. And it's just conveniently next to a place called Total Wine, which has a very nice beer selection. So I strolled in there on like Monday morning at 8:30 in the morning. Lovely time to go to a liquor store, and probably a bad sign for my own personal health. But the guy there saw my Titans hat, and he was like, well, congratulations, I'm a Bears fan, and I'm just happy that you beat the Packers. So what on earth, Jamal, what on earth is a Titans fan doing in Milwaukee anyway? What's happening? Tell us your journey.
Well, yeah, my journey is this is where my wife is from. And I didn't have a whole lot of choice. So I had just failed out of college when we got married. So I don't know what she was thinking, but she was in college, and I said, oh, I guess I'll come to you. And I always thought we'd end up back in Indiana where I'm from, but that I'm in Packers country, and usually it sucks because they're so good all the time, every year.
So consistently good.
And this year, not only did we beat them and beat them down, but overall their year is just not good. So for me, we were 4-4, and I was feeling like, heck yeah, and we were 4-5, and I was feeling like, this is great. And they were 4-4 coming into that game against us, and everyone was panicking. It was great. I love it. I love to see others in pain, of football pain, because usually that's me as a Titans fan. It's been a rough decade, a rough forever, it seems like. And to beat the Packers, I mean, we beat the snot out of them. 21 points in the first quarter. I think 5 touchdowns in the first half. It was ridiculous. They couldn't stop us.
Jamal, since you're up there, but you're kind of on the outside looking in, how would you diagnose the Packers' problems?
I think the roster is lacking in a couple of areas, and I think they have there's dissension in the ranks, and nobody knows exactly what it is. But I think Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy are not seeing eye to eye. And it kind of dates back to last year when they put in the new offensive coordinator. That was a guy who Rodgers had a lot of trust in. Mm-hmm. And when the offense was struggling, then Mike McCarthy took back over the offense and kind of seemed like something he needed to do, but Aaron was not happy, and they still haven't turned it back on. And so I think there's just resentment there. And it's interesting. But I mean, how do you get to the point where Eddie Lacy goes down and you have to start playing wide receivers at running back?
Yeah,
that's a roster management issue. And I usually listen to Titans radio in Nashville. I'll listen to 104.5 a lot of times on Mondays, Tuesdays after the game, and just kind of get the sense of how fans are feeling. This week, I took much relishing in listening to local radio and just how upset they were. And I wanted to see, are they giving the Titans credit, or are they saying the Packers are just terrible, And then I also wanted to see, what did they think about specific players, DeMarco Murray, Marcus Mariota, things like that. But the most interesting thing, because I think from their perspective, the Titans are unworthy and the Packers are just having a down year. It's fan bias. There was a lot of praise for Mariota, not so much for DeMarco Murray, but most of it was just what's wrong with our team. And I was surprised how many people were saying we might need a change at GM.
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of people are mentioning that and talking about the way the Packers handle, they can handle free agency the way they handle it when they're hitting in the draft, but they've not been hitting in the draft lately. But I was listening to the Rich Eisen show, and they were talking about it. I think this was Monday or Tuesday, and I think it's a problem that it's not just isolated to the Packers, though. A lot of teams are the product industry wide is bad because other teams are suffering from these young players coming in and they're not ready to play at a professional level.
Mm-hmm.
My opinion.
And it seems like I don't think that it's overstated because people talk about it a lot, but I don't think that it's overstated how college offenses are making it that much harder to really project players.
Yeah.
And I think that that's one of the big reasons people are missing. I still just don't get it, though. I mean, how do you not have anyone on the roster? Yeah. Even last year when the Titans had Bishop Sankey, Terrence West, Plodzilla, we had bodies, even if they weren't good. How do you have no bodies at running back?
Seems
bizarre to me.
They just picked up Christian Michael, which, I didn't even know he had been released again.
Yeah, that was really disappointing because early in the fantasy football season, speaking of which, I'm still angry that I lost last week, but I'm happy in the way that I lost, Sharona. Because Sharona beat me with a bunch of Titans, and I can take that. But I had Christine Michael, and he was like, a guy I picked up after the draft and was really beneficial, and he fell off the face of the earth the last couple of weeks, like 5 carries for a yard. Cut him, but I wonder what the heck happened.
Yeah, he's had the craziest non-career for a guy who could have been something.
Athletically, he seems great, but and the weird thing is Rawls isn't even back to full speed yet, is he? Like, if you're going to make a move and cut the guy, you'd think they'd wait until Thomas Rawls was gone. So, it might end up being... It might end up being another thing like when they traded for Niall Davis and he was on the roster for 5 minutes, before they realized, no, he is not going to work.
Yeah, he's had maturity issues throughout his football career, and you have to, you hate to assume anything, but you wonder if that's what it is.
Seems likely, but and how it works out for the Packers, we'll see. The interesting thing for them is they're still only 1 game out of that division. Minnesota has fallen hard since when they played us. I mean, they played us.
Yeah,
and we gave them the game. Yeah, and they were really good for a while to the point where it was like, man, this defense is so good. And then nothing. I mean, they're terrible right now.
Yeah, they're really. Yeah, well, they had that. Norv Turner just up and quits. There's something going on.
That was weird.
I really wish he won't probably ever, but I would love it if Norv Turner would talk. I'd love to know.
Time was, wow, that's like the second or third offensive coordinator to be off a team, and Robisky still has a job with the Titans. What are the odds on that?
Here we go.
And then since then, Robisky turned it on. It's like he discovered football.
I had my microphone on for the last 5 minutes. No wonder you couldn't hear me. It was beautiful. You two are doing just fine without me. I turn it off for coughing / burping, and then I forget to turn it back on. But the show goes on. Yeah, there are some epically bad offensive lines in the NFL right now. Like the Vikings, I believe they're going for like the first team in something like 20 years. They're going to average less than 3 yards a carry. I mean, when you give Matt Asiata your gig, and Jerick McKinnon can't pull it off, and Adrian Peterson is broken, that's a tough one. But at least they're figuring out, let's just give a bunch of 5-yard passes to Stephon Diggs, and maybe that'll help it. But who knows? It's an odd year, like every year, and I wish that last Sunday's Seattle defeat, beating the Patriots, would have made up for what else happened last week, but not quite. But a little cherry on top to end the weekend. Good football weekend at least. But do you think, the Titans have 6 games left and 4 on the road. So can they actually go at least 4-2 and make a playoff berth?
Who do you want to answer that? Go ahead, Jamal.
Well, the interesting
Everybody's
thing
excited to talk about that.
So you cut out right at the end, I think. But were you saying, can they make a run for the playoffs?
Yep.
Yeah. So I think they have to go at least 4-2. The problem is Houston is very likely to win the tiebreakers, and Houston already has 6 wins. So for the Titans to make the playoffs, they have to either win 10 games, which means going 5-1, or they have to win 4 games and end up 9-7, and Houston has to only go like 2-5. Both of those are kind of low odds, so it's unfortunate because we really probably should have beaten Houston and the Colts earlier this year,
and the Vikings
and the Vikings. Well, yeah, but I mean the first tiebreaker,
but still,
right. It's frustrating that you look at it and Houston is 3-0 in the division and we're 1-2. And they have a quarterback. Last week, Osweiler didn't even throw for 100 yards and they won. It's just disgusting. It's disgusting that they can control our future.
Yeah.
Frustrating. But I would say because of that, odds seem bad. But Houston is bad enough that you got to have hope, especially the way our offense is working right now.
Yeah.
Well, when the season ends, the Titans will not have played too tough of a schedule. I mean, the AFC West is tough. All 4 teams are good, and they might end up losing to all 4 the way they're going. I mean, the Broncos, I don't know, their defense isn't quite as tough. Just don't throw to those cornerbacks. Like, just seems like you go after the linebackers. Hello, Delaney Walker. They might have a shot. And the
Delaney
Chiefs
had
just
his best game this past
out.
weekend.
That was just glorious. See, that was the turnaround for the Titans when those exotic plays that just blew up in the first half of the season worked.
Mm-hmm.
Like they handed off to DeMarco Murray and the entire defense went after him. Man, Green Bay just is very undisciplined and, left Delaney wide open. But then Mariota made some really good throws. Like that's what's impressed me this year, because last year it was all like Mariota cannot throw the deep ball. He cannot. Over 15 yards, forget it. And he was hitting guys pretty well over the past few weeks. I know the Tajay pass, like Tajay was like basically uncovered and he kind of threw like a pooch punt to him, but he still caught it, still scored. Yeah. And Sharona's guy, Tajay, still on your roster, or did you finally get rid of him?
Well, I had to drop him in.
Oh no, you can't name a team after a guy and cut him. He's still
on my League of Laws, and he's still on my. No, wait, he's not on. Because Dad got him in League of Laws. No, he's still on my Scotty Fishbowl, but he was on my bench. And let's see, I've got him in some leagues, but I actually in our League of Law league, I picked up Richard Matthews and played him. And yes, I did. But I did beat Jamal. I was kind of happy about that.
I know, because last week he took me to the woodshed in I'd say bye week depleted team, but my team's a little deceiving at 8-2, and not quite as strong as you'd like to be, because that's the thing about the League of Laws. Like Jamal has the top score, but he's 6-4, and I have maybe the 3rd highest score, and I'm number 2, and Sharona number 1 after the victory in the showdown.
I put up a good fight, despite the fact that you got like 300 points from 2 players.
Cam Newton had a really nice game, and that helped you. I was sweating it for a while, but I did. I had, I've got DeMarco Murray, Delaney Walker, and Richard Matthews, do I have any more Titans on that team? I don't think so.
That's the best part of this year. Like before this year, if you had said, you got to get a piece of the Titans offense if you want to win in fantasy, people would have laughed you out of your subdivision. And now Sharona's, Delaney Walker, even Derrick Henry occasionally. You got Richard Matthews. Well, yeah, went from getting benched for Andre, I just retired because I got bored, Johnson, and now he's the guy for the Titans. He's scoring touchdowns every week. Delaney's doing the Delaney things. And it's all good. Yeah, it's all good for you. Yeah, last week, 166. Yeah, you led the league in scoring. So you usually win when that happens. It's not surprising. 166, though.
I take solace in the fact that I am the top scorer, and I'm in the playoffs. So we'll see what happens. I haven't scored under 100 yet this year. losses.
Yeah, I think I've scored between like 121 and 123 like 7 out of 10 weeks this year, and I've had like 2 really good weeks. The first week of the year, I scored like 200 against Sharona. I scored like 100 points in my receivers, and I was like, my team's awesome, and it's above average.
Yeah,
But you know who I got this week? Who's gonna take me to the championship? It's gonna be Ty God on waivers. I love having quarterbacks on waivers. For years, I'm in a local league where we had to roster 3 quarterbacks, so there was nothing on the waiver wire. This league, there's like 10 starting quarterbacks on the waiver wire, and Ryan Fitzpatrick if you're really bored. So yeah,
He's not a starting quarterback anymore.
I love. I bet in 10 weeks I've started like 8 different quarterbacks, and it's been great because I rotate my quarterbacks. I stupidly, probably the worst start of the year. I just have been bad with defenses. Which defense did I start this week? The Green Bay Packers.
I know.
Oh, gosh.
I bet that was. Did you get negative points?
Yeah, they had a couple of sacks to get me down to -2. But, well, I mean, the Chargers had 2 touchdowns, and the Colts had a touchdown against the Titans. I'm like, well, if they're winning, not so much, but it's all right.
Crazy.
It's really down to the Colts game. They have to break the Colts curse, or else forget it.
You know, it's funny, in our League of Laws, seemed like I drafted Carson Palmer, and then
I just got him.
And then I took, because I didn't have Dak Prescott anywhere, and this was my last draft. I took a flyer on him, and then snagged Alex Smith later on with my final pick, just in case. And and I ended up dropping Carson, and I've been rolling with Dak and Alex and doing pretty good.
Yeah, Dak's
my
pretty
YOLO
solid.
pick in that league was Terrell Pryor, and I almost dropped him right after I picked him. I was like, why did I do that? What a worthless pick. And it worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to roll with the bad picks. Like, I'm pretty sure, like in the 18th round, I took Ryan Tannehill over Matt Ryan, who could have been like an every week starter. But Dak Prescott, who I think I was making fun of people drafting him in like July or August, that's turned out pretty good. He's been my QB2 in that 2 quarterback league. I don't know if I can do. I don't know. I'll ask whoever wants to chat in. Like, the whole 1 quarterback in fantasy, there's just way too much out there. It's just like, it's basically kicker team defense. I mean, I feel like you need to have at least a quarterback flex to make it interesting at this point, because quarterbacks, everybody scores right now.
Right. It's harder because I think this league has 12 teams, right? But in a 10-team league, I'm dead set on you need 2 starting quarterbacks, because then there's nobody available. And it's actually nice because everybody has to have 3. But when you have 12 teams, you're kind of in that dead man area where you can't really have 2 because then not everybody has a backup.
I mean, it's kind of like those quarterback super flex, kind of like the Scott Fish Bowl, where you don't have to start a second quarterback, but you pretty much do. And you have the option. And I'm pretty sure that Ty in St. Louis, he actually won 1 year and he didn't have a second quarterback. But yeah, it's tons of fun. So what actually happened to stick to football? What led to the demise?
Stick to football. I had to be talked into it. And I said, well, if I do it, I'm going to wear a costume. And that's where the eye patch came from. I intentionally made it bad. And I was really good at making it really bad, but not in a funny way. And so I got tired of embarrassing myself week to week. And then on top of that, it takes a long time to put together a video thing if you don't just do it in one take. If you're going to do editing and stuff. Like, I was staying up late to get all that stuff in. And the season fell apart, and it was just like, why am I wasting so much time? And the team sucks. Like, what's the point here?
And the team
I've thought
sucks.
about it a couple of times this year back, and just we actually had our second child this year, and it's just a little harder to find that time. At some point, I'll make the triumphant comeback to please my 2 fans.
Now, are you raising your children as Titans fans? Are you giving them a choice, or how's that going?
I have a feeling that my son will end up a Packers fan because everyone around him is a Packers fan. But my wife's family, fortunately, is not into sports at all. So that presents problems at times. But what it does mean is she's not going to be too upset if he's a Titans fan. So we'll see. It depends on how much he loves me. If he loves me, he'll be a Titans fan.
Oh, come on.
Wow, that's a
Give the little
that's
guy
a step
break.
there. I still don't know how.
No, but-
So, guy from Indiana and living in Milwaukee becomes Titans fan. I still haven't gotten that story yet. I feel like we need that, or else we're going to feel totally incomplete.
I've heard
tonight.
this story. We do need this story.
Well, it's just your typical modern day fan. So fantasy football is the reason why I really started following football originally. I was always kind of I'm more of a soccer fan from a soccer family, played soccer myself, and football was always the Antichrist. But then I got into fantasy football and I realized, oh, this is kind of fun. And on my first team, I had Eddie George. And then playing video games, I liked playing on NFL Blitz. I liked playing with Yancey Thigpen just because I thought it was ironic beating someone else up with a guy that had such a sissy name as Yancey. And just kind of went from there. People asked, who's your favorite team? I don't know. I guess the Titans. And it helped that they went to the Super Bowl pretty quickly there. And then
never again.
Turned out to be a bad choice because
No, they were
they
good.
fell apart.
I mean, they were good for, several years. And
Yeah, they were good until about
Oilers,
2004.
and the Oilers were, they had a storied franchise, and it's just, things started to fall apart in 2004. The cap situation hit then, and guys like Steve and Eddie and Derek Mason, and so maybe we're starting to see, having and this is an obvious statement, but having a franchise quarterback means everything.
Yeah, I got given on the Two-Tone Crew a couple of times. I've been given crap because I'm actually I am a Packers owner. I have one of those fake shares that whatsoever, except for the ability to say I'm an owner. Thank you very much. So I live in the market, and I'm a big fan of Aaron Rodgers, and I defend Mike McCarthy quite a lot. And the joke was, because this year I was so upset at Amy Adams Strunk for hiring Mike Mularkey after not really performing a coaching search, that I said, I'm going on a year of fan-free agency. And that lasted about 2 months when I realized there's no way I could drag myself away from the Titans. Like, I couldn't stop reading the news. I was like, I'm going to read about other teams just as much as the Titans. And I couldn't. So then I decided I'd come crawling back. But the joke at the time was, you're going to go become a Packers fan when they are falling apart and when the Titans finally have a franchise QB. It's like the perfect time not to make the switch. I'm kind of glad I didn't.
Yeah, and Zach and I have gone through that too, Jamal. So don't feel bad. We've, when you form those ties, to something, it's hard to break free from it. And I was definitely I'm sure you, but I know Zach knows this. I'm sure you do too. I just wasn't happy during the Ken Wasn't years, and I wasn't happy with that choice. And I was going to give Mike Mularkey some time. We'll see. It's I said that they would win 6 games. They would go 6-10, but I also thought that 7-9 might win the division. So I think that I don't want to say they've outperformed expectations, but because you should have high expectations of your team. But there have been moments that have been pleasantly surprising. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I predicted 6 wins as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one more win. All I have to do is beat the Colts and become bowl eligible, and that'll be great, right?
Listen, and I said 6-10 would be a successful season. I mean, this is a team that's won 2 games. They've sucked.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is, I went through the schedule because I was going to say something like they could have won 6 games last year. A lot went, against them for the year. Marcus Mariota getting injured. A lot of just turmoil. And early in the year, they were in a lot of those games. And then the wheels came off. And so I thought, okay, start with 6 wins. We're going to be better because we have better talent on the offensive line and that running back. And so I was thinking maybe 8 wins. But then I went through the schedule. And in the preseason, I thought we had a difficult schedule, which is kind of funny at this point.
No, I thought so too. I'm like you. Yeah.
Didn't work out that way. But I'm happy to, at this point, I suspect they're going to win more than 6 games. And so my expectations were not good enough. And that's a good thing. That feels mighty nice. The problem is, do you guys have faith that we're going to beat the Colts this week?
No.
That Andrew
That's
Luck
what's
thing.
up.
2 weeks ago, it was like, oh, the Packers are definitely going to crush the Colts. And then for some reason, the Colts shut them down for 3 quarters. And I mean, it's weird, like Aaron Rodgers becoming Blake Bortles this year, like garbage time, quarterback in a way. There's always something that happens in that Colts game. Like Andrew Luck makes the rally to come back. Or, of course, Mariota had the ball in the home game. All right, drive the team down the field, win the game. First play, the interior of the line disintegrates, and the fumble happens, and he probably held the ball too long. And they scored a touchdown. That's it. The team's been really good this year at scoring that touchdown to make sure they only lose by less than double digits, though. So give them that. That's been consistently happening. That's the problem, though. They said they've scored, 26 points in like 7 games in a row for the first time since 2003. They lost 2 of those games. And it's not the defense, which is, I don't know, the defense was like okay, and then they just couldn't do anything against the Chargers. And they made some stops last week when it was obvious that the Packers had to pass. I don't know and it's like they're winning by 4 with 2 minutes to go, and Andrew Luck has the ball. I'm like, game over. They were going to win. So we'll see. I mean, they have a shot. I don't know. Frank Gore, I could still take some Frank Gore touchdowns since he's on my fantasy team, but, not too many. Nice
if you had
year for the
quizzed
old man.
me 2 weeks ago, I would have said Frank Gore was dead. So that shows how much I knew about him. I'm surprised anybody owns him in fantasy, but he had a good game against the Packers. That's one of the reasons why I actually predicted that we would beat the Packers, because they had given up 30-plus points in 3 of 4 games leading up to playing us. And we obviously scored way more than that. But Frank Gore did he have a couple touchdowns, 60 yards, something like that against the Packers?
Something like that.
Yeah, that's the thing about Frank Gore. Like, he's really a boring guy to have in fantasy. You can't be too excited because he always has 15 carries for like 62 yards. He had one 100-yard game, and then he never gets 2 touchdowns, but that one game he did, which was nice, but I think he still kicked my ass. We'll see. We'll get you back in the playoffs maybe. But it would be nice, and it's nice to have like their nemesis on the road, the bastard Indianapolis fans. You had Peyton Manning for like a decade, and they suck one year, and they get Andrew Luck, neckbeard, and then just do not give him almost anything around him in terms of talent. Like, that team has been so mismanaged for the last few years, and he still kind of pushes them forward. They are 1 game away from the Super Bowl a couple years ago. It's just crazy. But yeah, I mean, the thing that made me laugh, and that's why I had to put the Bugs Bunny shut up like YouTube clip, was the last time the Packers had a losing record was the last time the Titans were good, 2008. So shut up, Packers fans. If you're going to have one bad year, you can't fire all your coaches. I have no fan base hates a Super Bowl winning coach more than the Packers seem to hate McCarthy. The Steelers fans seem to hate Mike Tomlin every other week because they have those weird losses. But it's like, you got your ring. I know you want more. I would like more too, but come on. Yeah, get your little pieces of paper. You own your team.
It's the not for long league. What have you done for me lately?
Well, but the thing is, he's taken them to the playoffs like 7 years in a row. The only other coach who's done that is Bill Belichick, But you set the expectations so high, the only thing that will satisfy them. Like, they're mad that they haven't gone to the Super Bowl in 7 years or whatever it's been. I mean, it's like, if that's the only thing that will satisfy you, good luck.
Yeah, it's tough. And they had Favre, and they went straight to Aaron Rodgers. And I remember Aaron Rodgers earlier in his career. Everybody was like, he got hurt a lot. They didn't know if he was any good. He had a good statistical season his first year, but they went 6-10. And then, playoffs every year. And it's hard to beat that. In the year that I think they won the Super Bowl, weren't they like the 6th seed? And they beat the crap out of the Falcons at home, and they had a nice nice turn there. It wasn't.
Yeah, they got
bad.
hot at the right time.
Is everybody excited about Tony Romo, or happy about him giving his little speech? So now he had to give the team to Dak. I mean, how frustrating is that?
Oh, did that happen? I missed that.
Man, Sharona, what happened? Like, you're either like totally on the ball, or you're like, I don't even know, what is football still happening?
I haven't been. I'm
leading our fantasy league. I don't know. Were there games last week? I don't know.
I've been working on my bunker. I've been working on the bunker.
Time well spent. I didn't watch. On a sports show, let me admit that me and my wife are actually binge watching Gilmore Girls because the new season's coming out on Netflix after Thanksgiving. So I actually watched a couple episodes for the late games. Like, I watched the early games, and then all of the late games were just like insane finishes. That was great. Like that Steelers Cowboys game, I kind of wish they played more often than every 4 years, because there was the fake spike, and then Ezekiel Elliott runs in for the touchdown. So glad I took him in the SFB 480. I took him number 2.
So what's the scoop? Give me the scoopage. What's going on with Dak Prescott and Tony Romo? They kissed and made up, and Tony
Romo just did a little, gave a speech, I think yesterday, just saying that he understood that it was Dak's team this year, and he was perfectly happy being a $17 or $19 million backup for the rest of the year.
It's a good gig. It's a good gig if you can
speech.
get it.
The odds are he might show up at some point. Dak gets hurt, he comes in. I mean, that's just insane. Like, in the Dynasty League I'm in, Dak was a 6th-round pick, and a 6th-round rookie pick in a Dynasty League is almost a guy who doesn't make a roster. And look at him now. 4th-round pick in the NFL, a 4th-round rookie quarterback in the NFL doing anything. I don't know if that's ever happened.
Russell Wilson, hello?
He was a 3rd-round pick.
He's definitely got the benefit of an offensive line and Zeke Elliott and everything else, but he's playing well. I thought that it was interesting listening to the media coverage of the Tony Romo speech, because he said a lot of good things. It's a meritocracy league where you get what you deserve, and Dak has earned it. And I still remember when I got the team and how great that was, and the people that gave me assistance, and I'm going to do that back to him. Like, a lot of good things, but it just felt like it was written by a publicist, and the praise he got for it was like universal. And granted, I like to be Mr. Negative at times, bitter tweeting and all of that stuff, but it got that much praise. It was kind of like, it's kind of like when somebody comes out and says, I'm taking my name out of the hat for a job that I have no chance of getting. It's like they're giving the team to Dak. You don't have to give the team to him. The coaches will. But
pretty much. I mean, I don't know. I was actually watching one of those Super Bowl NFL Films videos, and it was the Super Bowl year for the Dolphins in 72, and Greasy got hurt, and they had to put the backup in. But once Greasy got healthy, they put him back in. Of course, his backup was a 35-year-old, Earl Morrall, as opposed to a rookie. And the offense is working well. Now, it's funny. Like, I always give Jen Ryan crap, FF degenerate, because she knows that, like, Dak still can't throw the fade to Des Bryant. Like, he cannot. It doesn't work, but he keeps trying. But that happens. Like, I was annoyed at Mariota when he missed a wide open DeMarco Murray on 4th and 5 when they're winning 35-16 with 2 minutes to go in the first half. It was like, every time he does something bad, I can see that. And when you're a fan of the team, you see that. But the offense has become his, and their offensive line is crazy. It's as good as the Titans wish theirs was for as much first-round investment the Titans have made in their offensive line.
Hey, we haven't talked about Taylor
Oh my gosh, we do need to talk. Like, it's so hard when a bad game happens. You can't talk about the bad stuff. And Taylor Lewan, every other game getting like a team choking penalty. Is Conklin going to be their left tackle? They're just going to dump him because this is the offseason that he could get that fifth-year option. And
Please,
I don't
dear
know,
God,
like,
no.
well,
Please,
but he
dear
seems like a
God,
bit of a
no.
bastard and just cannot control himself. Like pushing a ref in a game, I mean, give me a break. They're obviously
that guy. They're going to keep him. There's no way they're letting him go. The thing is, when he's healthy and when he's not an idiot, which unfortunately isn't as often as you would like, but when those two things don't happen, he's great. And I think they're going to look at it and say, over time, he'll continue to mature, continue making better decisions, and we like how good he plays. But man, that was just watch. And he's had so many things where it's just stupid, just ignorant. But
I would leverage as much as I could get, and and because they could get, they could get a lot. They've got a lot of holes in that team, and they could get a good tackle. They don't have to, mortgage the bank for it.
I mean, you could say they basically lost the Raiders game because of that flag he got because they had the ball like at the 4-yard line. And then he dove in there and almost injured DeMarco Murray. Did not hit a player on the other team, by the way, and got a flag. And, yeah, they weren't able to win. Thanks to Andre, superstar, old man, got a freaking cane on the field. Johnson getting all those critical targets in those games. But, hey, the guy they traded DGB for, Dennis Kelly, actually played last week. Woohoo, finally. And I guess he did okay because the teams kept scoring. So, hey.
Yeah, he played very well.
We played
fully on them.
We played that game and dominated with 3 backups on the offensive line. Spain was out, Warmack's injured, and Taylor Lewan got himself booted like 2 seconds into the game.
Yeah, but let's be real. I mean, it's probably an upgrade to Schwenke over Spain. And I like Spain well enough, but Schwenke is a much better guard than he ever was a center.
Who's playing right guard right now? Because I heard Spain might come back this week. So maybe
Klein he's the waiver, we picked him up on waivers from the Patriots, and he's the one who took over for Warmack. And that was the one that I thought was an upgrade over Warmack, but I've been anti-Warmack since very early on.
How much is Warmack going to get this offseason? Someone's going to give him some stupid, dumb contract, right? Just because he's an Alabama guy, or no?
Offer him 10 tacos, and he'll take that for the contract. Don't give him any money. Just offer him tacos. Chalupa. Well, 2 chalupas and a taco.
Jonathan Cooper hasn't been any better. Is he even in the league right now? I don't think he is.
I think the Cardinals wasn't that weird Patriots trade?
Mm-hmm. And then he got
loving
cut
the
again,
fact the Patriots traded
he got
Jamie
cut.
Collins, and their defense is now mediocre. So, woohoo, way to go, Belichick. It's kind of like me in Dynasty, like overthinking things and making crazy trades and then like ruining your team for decades. Yeah.
It's nothing. Yeah.
Well, you can't say that about Belichick because it always works out well for him because the AFC is horrible and they're going to go to the Super Bowl probably.
I don't think he ever has as much talent as it is just he figures out how to scheme around players.
Yeah.
And draft well. I mean, like, they don't seem to replenish talent so much as just like pick up random guys off the street and turn them into superstars somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I mean, look at LeGarrette Blount. I mean, I started him in one of my leagues. He had 3 touchdowns. He should have had 4. He was like an inch away from that last touchdown.
Well, look at it this way.
Lovely.
And, I think Jamal hit it on the head. Belichick knows the players in this league better than anybody because he looks at them and he schemes around them and schemes for them. And when he sees a guy, out there that he's had to scheme against, who he thinks he can do something with, he's going to go get him and use him. And it's been very successful. Whereas he hasn't been as successful with his own guys. And some of that's been, they've had in the lower ranks, a little bit of turnover, but I don't think he cares. Because he knows he can go out and get somebody.
And he takes a long-term perspective. He looks at it and he says, this guy is going to want a contract in a year or two. Let's get something for him now while he still has trade value. And
they're not sentimental at all.
No. Yeah, except for with Brady. I'm sure by the time Brady degrades, it'll be interesting to see, when Brady turns into like Peyton Manning the last year or two, will they actually just cast him aside like a dirty shirt, We'll see. But it seems like Brady they'll keep forever, and then everybody else, love you, but make sure you keep playing well and say nothing that you're not supposed to, and that'll be that.
Exactly.
Yeah, you don't see too many of their own free agents getting massive money, and you don't see them signing free agents from other teams. It's like the Julian Edelman guys who are the scrappy guys who they sign under budget kind of deals. Now we have to do this. Sharona was upset with me. Well, she was upset with everybody last week, but she was particularly upset with me last week because I didn't do hashtag over it or hashtag not. So this week we're doing it.
Okay, all right.
Into college football, we're gonna dip into the college just a little bit.
All right.
So over it or not for Sharona, Tennessee with a chance to win the SEC East.
Who do they play again? I forget. Who do they play?
Well, we got a big game this weekend. Apparently, everybody in the SEC is playing their FCS Let's Get Bowl eligible game this week because
we got
Tennessee versus Missouri is the CBS 3:30 big SEC game of the week, by the way. But you know what happens earlier than that? Hashtag over it or nah. Rooting for LSU.
Can't be over something that you have never done. I will not be rooting for LSU. I will just try to let football karma take its rightful course. As far as am I over it? No, of course I want Tennessee to win the SEC East, as sucky as it is.
Do you really want to? It's kind of like Missouri won the SEC East 2 times in a row. By the way, that actually happened, everybody. We're living in some kind of weird alternate universe. I'm telling you. And the second time they won, they had to play like Alabama. I was like, forget it. It was just like the Titans against anybody until this year. It was just nothing was going to happen. So yeah, Tennessee again have a shot, but it was that bizarre, like Florida had the hurricane and then they were canceling the game, and nobody is better at conspiracy theories than SEC fans. So all these LSU and Florida fans are going back and forth, and they actually rescheduled the game. Not surprisingly, both teams had some FCS team they were playing that they just had to buy off to do this game. And it sounds like Florida's entire team is injured, so maybe they'll pull it off. LSU only looked really good playing against Missouri. They plowed Missouri. They just destroyed them. But here we are, the last over it or not of the week. Missouri, Tennessee live drinking with me on Saturday. Is it happening?
Of course. You mean live like as in over social media live? Are we going to be meeting somewhere?
Well, I doubt that, but
I'm not sure I can swing that. But my bunker's not ready yet. I got to finish the bunker.
Your bunker's not ready? You got to be ready. The zombies are coming. But it's true. My Missouri Tigers, who lost something like 11 straight conference games, actually defeated Vanderbilt last week. So they're on a 1-game winning streak. And Tennessee's fresh off beating Tennessee Tech. Who else?
Yes.
They've beaten anybody else? No. They beat Kentucky. That's right. Kentucky. Woo.
They beat Kentucky. That's right.
Missouri got destroyed by Kentucky. It's embarrassing.
I wasn't sure they were going to beat Kentucky. It was rather close early on. Kind of pulled away toward the end, but
that's what it's down to. So Tennessee has to beat Missouri and beat Vanderbilt and have Florida lose this week, and they'll win the SEC East. Come to Atlanta, and who cares? There's beverages involved, so it's all good. So Sharona, you feeling okay about that? You're all good?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm kind of anxious to see how it all plays out. We still have to have Vanderbilt left on our schedule.
Yes, you do, Vandy. They beat Georgia. Oddly, that was a random game. I don't know, Jamal. Is there excitement over like the Wisconsin because they could win their division, and they might actually get to take on the mighty Ohio State.
The Badgers
Michigan,
have a
Penn
good
State.
the Badgers have a good football program. I like the Badgers.
They do, and unfortunately, they're running into a juggernaut this week. The Purdue Boilermakers, my hometown team, who suck. I think
I remember
the
now that
Badgers
you're a
are like
Boilermaker fan. Yeah.
I am a huge Boilermaker fan, and it's
And
really
so
rough.
you were
I
so
can't
excited
even
when they
watch college
signed
football.
Bernard Pollard, right?
Drew Brees, y'all.
I was.
Bernard
Yep,
Pollard was your guy.
Drew Brees was the last time they were worth anything. I loved Bernard Pollard. He was good for a couple of good quotes every week. It was great.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: Purdue sucks at football. I just made a bet with a friend, former coworker, against the spread, and we bet a caramel brulee latte from Starbucks, one of those fancy drinks that will give you diabetes very quickly, but tastes great. And he told me the spread was something like 4 touchdowns. So I was like, I guess I'll take the Boilermakers if you give me 4 touchdowns. But it took like every point of that to make me take the Boilermakers. A lot of people are excited, Badger fans, and they've got a real good chance to make even the playoffs. I think they're ranked 6th right now. I was just listening to sports radio about it today, and I think they're basically saying, win out from here and then take it to Ohio State, and we'll see what happens. But if they do that, there's a real good chance that they make the playoffs, and that has everybody excited.
Well, yeah, they've lost to Michigan by 7, and then that crazy game against Ohio State, where Ohio State, I think, rallied to beat them in overtime, and it was just like they should have won. But I think my favorite year, just as a Missouri grad and knowing that the Big Ten, we can't count 10, picked Nebraska over Missouri, and the one year Nebraska made the Big Ten championship game, 7-5 Wisconsin just beat them down. I was like, yes, I am happy now, because Nebraska went to the Big Ten like we're going to dominate them, like we dominated the Big 8. They haven't even won, not even one championship yet. And Wisconsin I remember Wisconsin, like they always put offensive linemen in the NFL. They always put running backs in the NFL who suck in the NFL because they don't have giant holes, like 2 18-wheelers could fit through kind of holes. And the Titans had signed the Wisconsin offensive line coach last year, and he was so bad that he's coaching at Northern Illinois this year. Like the first time an NFL coach actually dropped down in stature after being there. Chance Warmack was especially pissed at him, but Chance Warmack I don't know what the deal is with the guy. The motivation and the talent just did not come together. It did not happen. No more top 10 guards.
I made fun of the hiring of Russ Grimm, so for 2 reasons. One is because it was just associated with Malarkey, so that made it really easy to make fun of. But Malarkey had this penchant for hiring old people.
Yes.
And
I know. It's got to be the oldest coaching staff in the league.
Old man football.
Yeah, and Russ Grimm is fantastic. That's all there is to it. The fact that, I was reading some articles, and it was actually irritating the heck out of me, and I think you called me grouchy on Twitter, Zach, but I'm reading, and finally the Titans are getting good press. You beat one of the marquee teams in the NFL, you're going to get good press. And the press was saying, the Titans with an offensive line stacked full of first-rounders. It's like, do you even watch our games? Do you follow the team at all? Or was this just one of those things you decided, well, I have to say something good about them? 2 first-rounders, that's their tackles. Their guards in Spain and Josh Klein right now were both undrafted. And their center was drafted, I think, 4th round, and they picked him up as a free agent. It is not an offensive line stacked with talent. And then this last game, like I mentioned before, we beat the snot out of the Packers with 3 backups in the game. And I think to say it's an offensive line stacked with first rounders gives the impression that they should be as good as they are. And the reality is, no, they sucked last year, the year before that, the year before that, the year before that. They've gone through a ton of coaches and nobody could get the talent right. And Russ Grimm has them performing at a very high level. And it's fascinating to me because I thought the Wisconsin coach, when we hired him, I was like, man, he turns out talent. We're going to turn it around with him. And he did nothing.
Yeah, no, he was bad. He was very bad.
I just look forward to the day when the Titans beat a team and they don't automatically say we got to fire our coach because we lost to the Titans. Although considering Chuck Pagano's always kind of on the edge situation, if the Titans beat them, that's going to happen. I don't know. I feel like they have a chance to win every game. I don't know about at Kansas City, but they don't exactly bomb you with points. It's more about their defense coming in. Like if Justin Houston is back, they're going to be really strong. Sharona, you had to a highlight last weekend had to be Eric Berry's touchdown return. I mean, come on. The guy had lymphoma and he comes back to the NFL and gets touchdown.
I did see that.
Little Rocky Top action in the NFL. Not just Tyler Brady.
That was a nice moment.
See, you get nice moments occasionally.
Occasionally.
I didn't even look like the Colts. The Colts have to be favored, right?
Oh, I'm sure.
I didn't look at the Vegas.
I'll look at it real quick.
That's why I thought.
At home, and they've beaten us 20 million times in a row. You'd have to think they're favored.
Yeah, from Peyton Manning's start of his career to now, the Titans have beaten them 3 times, and that one playoff game, which was great, but not many.
All right.
They always would lose to Peyton. I just remember the one time Peyton did a crazy, gesturing, and then he threw the ball right to the linebacker. I thought that was great. Otherwise, he had his way with the Titans.
One of the times we beat Peyton Manning, it took a 60-yard field goal or something too, right? That was,
Baronis making that. I still play the YouTube video from the upper deck of the field goal because that's the best. Is just I remember they were kicking that field goal. I'm like, there's still 20 seconds. If they don't make it, they get the ball at the 50. And then he made it. I was like, huh? Yeah. I think.
All right. There it is.
That might have been. They're straight up because at home you get 3 points.
Yeah.
What? But you notice that the over-unders in Titans games are quite high now. So there you go.
Yeah.
That's for your DFS people. I still have $10 on DraftKings. I'll probably never use it until they become some super DFS double company. But gosh, so Jamal, what on earth happens to keep you from two-tone like you weren't on last week? What's going on with that? I don't want you to break up, man. I don't want to hear about this.
We're trying to move it to Sundays. Usually we do it on Wednesdays, which is one of the reasons why I haven't been able to join you previously. But we're trying to move to Sundays so that we can kind of capture the spirit of the game a little bit more. But Sunday is a little more difficult for me, so we'll see. I need to just get better at setting that night aside, but it's the last day of the weekend before work, and the kids are always a little bit more wild. So I said I was going to make it, and then 10 minutes before the show, I was like, just so you know, I'm not coming. So we'll see. I should be on regularly.
Well, sounds good. We're getting close to shutdown time, so why don't you give Jamal a shot? Well, first of all, tell us, you did go to a Titans game recently, right? Didn't you come to one of the games?
I did.
Which one was that?
I went to the Oakland game, which was the most frustrating offensive performance, and is probably one of the reasons why, even now, after the offensive performances we've had for 5+ games, whatever it is, I still look at it and I'm like, I don't trust anything. Game, but the nice thing was, the Two-Tone Crew is the official podcast of TitansReport.com, and there are a lot of Titans fans on there. When they heard I was coming for the game, one guy gave me tickets, and worked out real well. He also is the same person who sends me bobbleheads every year. Which are the season ticket holder.
Yeah, my dad has been giving me this.
Yeah, nice. So that was nice, and it was good to get a feel for the stadium a little bit more and all that. But then the end of that game, that was a bummer. And I was going to go down this last week, but I just couldn't justify going a second time. It's a good 8-10 hours, depending on how many pit stops you make from here, and I couldn't justify the expense and the time, and and everything to go to a second game this year, but I'll have to get back next year.
We'll have to all do a game
Yeah, I'd
next
say
year.
we look at the schedule and pick a good one to get to.
Let's do it. I'm ready.
Obviously, a lot of road fans always get to Titans games, and from what my parents said, because they have season tickets in the end zone, lots of them last week. Lots of sad fans. I'm not sure if they sold bars out of beer like the Bears fans did. Gotta step it up there, Green Bay fans. But as we're getting here toward the end, so Jamal, tell us about your show, all your podcast action, and where can we hear the – we'll duke it out for who's the most pessimistic Titans fan, but I think right now you have the title, so let us know.
Yeah, no, so if you're looking for my work, you can be one of my 2 followers on Twitter, at Jamalisms. But for the most part, I am on the Two Tone Crew podcast, TWO Tone Crew, and we're the official podcast of TitansReport.com. TitansReport.com is kind of like a town of, and I don't mean that as a joke about this, but just a lot of foul-mouthed arguing, but Titans fans. And I'm over there yelling at people, condescending at everyone all the time, and if you ever want to argue with me, that's where you got to go. But otherwise, the Two Tone Crew, we're available on basically anywhere you want to look for a podcast. We record weekly. Come the off season, not so much. We all kind of try and take a break, but we'll do a post season podcast, and then a draft podcast or 2. And leading up to the season, we kind of start ramping it up again. Historically, we've recorded on Wednesdays, but we're trying to move to Sundays, and actually we've started doing it where we have sort of a live show and then we take and make the audio podcast after that. So if you're interested, I'm sure this next Sunday we will be sending out the link, and I'll send it out on Twitter and people can find me there.
And if you want, actually, I think both of us are negative Titans fans now. You can get either Sharona or I on there one of those weeks, but it's great to finally get to talk to you because we've been kind of chatting on Twitter for a while, and it's good to get the face, get the eye patch with the name. So thank you, Jamal. Sharona, what you up to these days?
Well, besides finishing my bunker, we did a podcast last week. Back Talk was back for 1 week. We're not going to do one this week, but we will be back full time next week because my bunker should be finished on Friday.
Now, can you tell me that football behind you, is that a Super Bowl, Titans Super Bowl football right there? What do you got there? It looks like Super Bowl. Wow, look at that. That's like an authentic collector's item. Because will Titans get back to Super Bowl? Well, other than this year, maybe never. Well, that sounds good. I'm Zach Law online, but usually Zach_Law. I haven't really posted in a while. I really need to get back on the beer talk because I just picked up some quality stuff. Can't get my oil changed for a while because I picked up some good stuff. But thank you, Jamal, for being on the show, and of course Sharona for being awesome as always. As we like to sign off, Dawn, I didn't say hi. Hi, Dawn.
Hi, Dawn.
Congrats on getting the Wii Sports Sparkly bowling ball. And good night, everybody, and kiss my grits.